Welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, energetic leadership guide, psychic medium, and somatic coach for ambitious leaders who know their gifts are real and who want to stand fully in them. Here, you'll learn how to trust your intuition, embody your vision, and step into the freedom you've been craving, all without chasing more certifications or carrying stuff that does not belong to you. Every week, I'll share powerful practices and conversations with thought leaders and changemakers that help you transform your vision into embodied confidence, claim your gifts without apology, and lead with both clarity and freedom. Because your gifts aren't cute, they're powerful, they're real, and they're needed. Start today by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit. It's the exact tool I use to track what's fueling me and what's draining me. It will help you discern between that hit of achievement and true joy so that you can lead with more clarity and impact. This is your space to stop proving, start embodying, and live fully in your gifts. Welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. Hello and welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Many empathic women don't struggle to know what they want. It's really more about a struggle to trust what you know, because you've spent years, perhaps a lifetime, considering what everyone else wants or what their preferences are or what the cost of them not getting what they want might be. You've spent years anticipating reactions and thinking things through from literally every angle. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Many empathic women don't struggle to know what they want. It's really more about a struggle to trust what you know, because you've spent years, perhaps a lifetime, considering what everyone else wants or what their preferences are or what the cost of them not getting what they want might be. You've spent years anticipating reactions and thinking things through from literally every angle. And your internal signal gets quieter for most of us with deep empathy and compassion. And that means sometimes you pause or you second guess or you make the decision and then you come back to it again and again and again and again, wondering if you've done the right thing. Or you make decisions by committee, asking everyone you know what they think. And then that ends up feeling overwhelming and confusing. So you wait and delay. And it has nothing to do with whether or not you know what you want to do or what's right. It's actually because you don't feel safe enough to trust yourself yet. And it's also because you have been showing up in a certain way as the concierge in some roles in your life. Not every role, probably, but in a lot of them. So, in today's episode, I want to share a very simple, practical way to begin to rebuild that self trust. Now, this isn't going to go perfectly. It's not going to happen one time on your first time, but this is something that you can increase in small, repeatable moments. And the thing we're going to talk about today is muscle testing. Now, before we go any further, if you hear muscle testing and think, wait, I don't know what that is, this might be too woo for me, just hang in there for a second, because this isn't about becoming somebody that you're not. And if you are woo, cheers to you. And if you're not, you're like, I'm kind of woo adjacent, cheers to you. This is about reconnecting with something that's already happening inside your body. So I can't tell you the number of conversations I have with very intelligent, very attuned, very empathic. And new research is coming out around the senses. So many times we talk about the five senses, taste, touch, smell, vision, and hearing. And then if you are following any of the clairs, it's all of those five senses plus knowing for claircognizance. And when we think about those clairs, we're thinking about the five senses, or when we think about your senses, we're thinking about those five senses. But new research reveals you don't have five senses, you have as many as 32 senses. So you're getting information from all different kinds of senses inside your body, and they have a lot to do with body sensations. And I've taught before on the podcast, even about the intuitive bodies, meaning the mental field is what we think of as your mind, that has your intellect, that has your intelligence. Then we have the emotional body, which is really connected to all your emotions, and that lives just outside the heart. And then we've talked about the intuitive body, which is deeper in the body, inside the gut. And we know from science that your stomach lining and your heart both contain brain cells. So we know that these intuitive centers actually exist and function as part of your intelligence. So doesn't it make sense to incorporate so many different body parts into your decisions? I think it does. And here's the thing. Your body is cued into so many different things and it's processing information even faster than your mind is. And then it's sending that information back into your thinking mind. It's picking up on what's aligned for you, what's not aligned for you. It's picking up on safety cues. It's noticing patterns. If you've ever read the work by Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote an incredible book called Blink, which is talking about this, how you know in the blink of an eye that something is either right or wrong for you. There's another book called The Gift of Fear, and I believe the author is Gavin McGraw. And again, we're talking about this sudden instant knowing. We're really referencing exactly what I'm talking about to you in this episode, which is how your body knows so much before you even consciously think about it. And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of the body wisdom. So you've learned to override it. You've learned to really lean on the intellect, the intelligence, and to kind of distance yourself a little bit from that intuition. So we're going to really allow you to think about this a different way. So you'll still be able to access your intuition and your intelligence and your intellect. But many empathic women have learned to override the intelligence that's coming from the body. They really heavily rely on the intelligence that's in the mind. And you're doing this so that you can think instead of feel, to analyze instead of notice, and to check externally instead of internally. So I want to really make sure that I say the goal here is not to get it right. The goal is to start listening to your body. And if you have been disconnected from your body for many years, the term embodiment probably drives you crazy. You're like, what does that even mean? And when we think about embodiment, which really is a buzzword right now, I'm grateful for that because that's the work I do, but it really means in your body. So many times we're so disconnected from our bodies, we're not even tuned into sensations like fatigue or pain until we stop. That's why at the end of the day, you can be going really fast, really pretty hard. And then you get in the car to drive home and you're like, whoa, I'm tired. It's because you've been pushing down and overriding all those signals of fatigue. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. That happens to all of us. It's how our bodies are made. It's part of our nervous system so that we have a little bit more oomph to get through stressful situations. Our nervous systems are doing that intentionally. It's part of a stress response and it's necessary. So we don't want to make that bad. It's actually important. But this is also what's happening. So muscle testing is a way to begin to connect with your own yeses and nos by tuning into the body. Now, a couple things about muscle testing. We want to make sure that we're hydrated and resourced, meaning you're not exhausted, you've eaten fairly recently, like within 4 to 6 hours. Because if you're exhausted, you're dehydrated, you're super hungry, you're going to get false answers, which is why we want to always start by testing for yes and no. And when we test for yes or no, we want to test something that you know without a shadow of a doubt, you know to be true, so that when your body says yes, you're like, oh, yeah, that is true. And then when your body says no, you're like, oh, yeah, that's also a no for me. So the thing I love to teach is muscle test using your name when you're, first of all, testing for yes or no. Okay. So when we muscle test, the reason this works is you get into the body and out of your mind. But in order to actually get into the body and out of your mind, there's something you're going to need to do. And that is, I'm going to ask you to put your arms at your sides, to stand up, maybe reverse that order, and you're going to close your eyes. Then you're going to test for yes. Say, my name is, and then say your name. So in my example, I would say, my name is Brenda, and then wait for a response. If you are actually in your body and it's going to be aligned for you to muscle test in that moment, you're going to gently tip forward. It'll be noticeable, but it's not like you're going to fall down. And then you want to gently test for no. So say something that your name isn't. My name is Bentley. That's my dog's name. And then you're going to wait for your body to respond. If you are in your body, you're going to gently tip back. It will be noticeable, but you won't fall down. Now, if you test for yes and you tip forward, that's a good sign you're in your body. If you test for no and you tip backward, that's a good sign you're in your body. If either of those two things is mixed up and you test for yes and you go backward, or you test for no and you go forward, this is not the right time to muscle test. There are some things you need to do first before you can trust that muscle testing. This is one of the things that drives me crazy on social media because there's so many people out there that don't teach this part. This is essential. You have to test for yes and no before you begin. So if you got a false positive or false negative, there's one thing I want you to do, and that is drink some water. Not like a couple sips, but like a cup of water. And that just makes me think, I want to drink in my own water. So you're going to drink your water and then just wait a couple seconds. Then invitation to stand back up, widen your stance, and test again. In almost every case, then your answers will be true. Your yes will be a yes, your no will be a no. Once you've tested, then it's time for the actual muscle testing to begin. Do not skip this step of testing for your yes and your no, because if you do, you're not going to be able to trust the answers. Okay. So when you're muscle testing, the best way that I can teach it, and this is assuming you're able to stand, and I'll give you an alternative if you're not able to stand. If you're able to stand, the best way to do it is to stand up straight with your arms by your sides, your feet a comfortable width apart. There should be just a little bit of space between your feet. And this is really important. Close your eyes. Then do your test for yes, test for no. If that is all going the appropriate direction, then you can begin your actual muscle testing. So when we get ready to do the actual muscle testing, we want to create statements that you're either saying out loud or saying in your mind. And we want them to be singular statements that have a clear yes or no. Because if you have like multiple options in a statement, then that's confusing and you're not going to get a good answer. So an example of a multiple statement is, let's see, something I would be deciding today. Should I have lunch before or after my client? That is not going to get me a muscle testing answer because I asked two questions. Should I have lunch before my client? Should I have lunch after my client? Do you see what I mean? So you want to ask a really singular statement. Is it of the highest good for me to have lunch before my client today? Then muscle test for that. This is something I'm really considering right now because I'm hungry. And so you can do this. In fact, I recommend you do this with really simple everyday things for a while so that you can really start to feel what does that yes feel like in your body And what does that no feel like in your body? Self trust is built through repetition. So I invite you to use this throughout your day. You can use it on decisions, like I just mentioned. You can also use it if you're grocery shopping, if you happen to be the one physically grocery shopping, and you can hold different varieties. I do this often, by the way. People probably think I'm nuts at the grocery store, but I'll hold something up to my heart and then I'll just muscle test it. Is this for my highest good? Is this what my body wants? And if I've tested for yes and tested for no, which I take the time to do in the grocery store, I'll get my answer if it's aligned for me or if it's not aligned for me. I don't have a ton of food allergies. I'm just allergic to a couple things, but some really common foods have some of my key allergies. And so I like to be careful, especially when I'm buying any kind of prepared chicken, because I have an allergy to something they often put in chicken. So I can muscle test it and I get the right answer every single time. And you will too. So you can test it on food. And then once you really learn to trust your own body's muscle testing on the everyday things like when should I eat lunch? What route should I take? Then you can begin to apply it to bigger issues in your life. Now, let's say, for example, you're on a call and you're sitting down, you're on Zoom, and you can't stand up. Let me give you some other alternatives. Or maybe you don't have the ability to stand up. So this will work for you as well. So there's two other ways that you can muscle test. One is by sitting really tall. If you have the ability to do that, you can muscle test from a seated position. And so in that case, you're going to lay your hands gently in your lap. It doesn't really matter if it's palm up or palm down. Just gently lay your arms in your lap. And then you're going to do the same thing, testing for yes, testing for no, and then go into the thing that you want to do. So maybe you're on a call and you're trying to make a decision about whether something is aligned for you, whether it's an aligned client, an aligned job offer, whatever the case may be. And you'll actually find yourself tipping forward gently on the yes, just like you would if you were standing, and gently tipping backward for the no, just like you would if you were standing. So this can be used in a seated position as well. And I really do want you to try this. I want you to try this because if you don't try this, you're going to think, oh, Brenda, sounds like my mom. Oh, Brenda. You're going to think I'm making it up. So I want you to test it. I want you to try and prove me wrong. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to prove me wrong. You're going to prove me right. But I still want you to try to myth bust this because it's going to prove to you that you have so much body wisdom right inside you and it's easily accessible. Okay, so you can muscle test standing and you can muscle test sitting. Now, there's one more way that you can reliably muscle test, but it's not fail safe. And that is when you interlock a ring finger and a thumb on each hand. And so you just make a circle with one hand with your ring finger and your thumb and a circle around and through that so that they're interlocked, they're linked. And then your yes is going to be difficult to pull apart and your no will easily slide. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it's yes and no. It's very easy. I do like this, but I'm going to share this one with you with a caution. There's a little caution flag here on this finger muscle testing, and that is you can override it with your will. So you can get some false answers. So if this is a really big decision, I do not recommend you use this finger muscle testing. If it's a really big life decision kind of thing, please use the full body testing if you're able, the seated body testing if you're able. And if you are not able to stand or sit, then you can use the interlocking finger one, but make sure your eyes are closed and make sure your statements are singular. Okay. So your real life isn't going to ask you, like, is it coffee or tea today? It's not like that. Most moments that you can really apply this to are, do I say yes to this? Do I respond today or do I wait? Do I keep going? Do I take a break? Is this actually aligned for me? And this part is the place where many empathic women freeze, not because you don't know, not even because you don't have access, but because you've learned that or been taught or socialized or conditioned that other people's responses matter more than your own. And this is why muscle testing is so important as you come back into your body. Now, I want to mention that there is one other kind of muscle testing that you'll see on social media and you may even encounter, and you'll find this often in certain healing spaces, chiropractic offices, energetic practitioner offices. And that's where you hold out your arm and then they push it down to test for yes or no. And if it's a yes, it stays up. If it's a no, it goes down. It's harder to do on yourself. And so I don't recommend you doing it on yourself, but you could have somebody that you trust muscle test on you that way. So you just extend your arm out straight. If it's a yes, your arm will stay pretty much raised out straight. And if it's a no, then you'll notice a little bounce. And so I had a chiropractor I was working with once who used this to test for different things, and it was really reliable. But again, it was not reliable when I was doing it on myself. And so the most reliable gold standard one is the one where you're standing. Now, self-trust doesn't come from having the right answer. It comes from staying connected to yourself so that you can listen when the answer really matters. So here's what I want you to practice today, okay? I want you to pick something small, something kind of everyday decision type of thing. I want you to pause. And then I invite you to create a singular statement that is easily answered by a yes or a no and test it. Now, you might be surprised. You might find, like, for example, the can of soup that you're planning to have for lunch is not actually in the best interest for you. Or you might find that your body is, like, if you do a muscle testing around making a salad today, you might find that your body doesn't want the salad today. Maybe your body wants something different. I don't know. But do it in something every day. And so you can test with the item on your chest if you want, or you can simply test by thinking about whatever the decision is, whether it's an item or a decision or even an outcome. So that's how you're going to do that. And I really want to hear from you. Will you please DM me on Instagram at Brenda Winkle and let me know what happened? Let me know how this works for you. I love hearing from you. You're never bothering me. So DM me. I love hearing from you there. Now, this is the kind of work that we practice more deeply in my spaces. Not just understanding what to do, but learning how to apply it in real life. So, probably if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, that I have a membership. And what you may not know is that membership has shifted identity and even title. It's now called the Empowered Empath Collective. And inside the Empowered Empath Collective, this type of self-awareness and self-inquiry becomes part of your weekly rhythm. It's a practice to help listen to yourself and to really practice listening to yourself and your body in real situations with support. It's not a lot of information given, it's actual integration. And for those of you who are feeling a deeper pull, I'm opening a wait list for my next in-person experience. It's a retreat called the Ignite Self-Trust Retreat. And this is where the work moves out of your head and into your body. And this is where you're going to have the space to hear yourself clearly again without the noise of daily life. And if that's something you're curious about, you can join the waitlist at brendawinkle.com/ignite retreat. And I'm going to put the links to the membership, the Empowered Empath Collective, which is hosted on School, which is so seamless, a beautiful user experience, as well as the retreat. And if you're interested in the retreat, get on the wait list because when it opens, there's only 10 spots for this retreat. You don't have to become someone else to be able to trust yourself, and you don't need more information. You have a lot of information. You need moments of integration, of pause, of honesty, of self-inquiry, and willingness to listen. And your body has been communicating with you for your entire life. This is just an invitation to start hearing it again. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you got something out of it, would you please consider sharing it with 3 of your friends? And if you haven't left the podcast a rating and review in a while, It would mean so much if you could take 30 seconds and leave the podcast a rating and review wherever you're listening right now. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.